We're back.
We're back. There we go. All right, so we got Max, we got Kelly, we got Jen Lackey. There's Jen Lackey. Woohoo! Oh, look at that. Look at how fancy Alan is.
Whoa.
Hi.
Hi, Jen.
Hello.
Hey, Max.
Hey, Sid.
Good to see ya.
Good to see you too. Good to be here. Oh, wow. When I said, hey, Sid, Siri started listening.
Darn Siri. All right. So we're almost at the top of the hour. Give it another minute and then we'll get started here. So the order will be that I'll do some introductions and then we'll go through the first round and then we'll bring Max on and then we'll do the final round. There's Mike, we got another judge. Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Hi.
Hey, Mike.
Oh, you put your shirt on. Cool. How you doing?
That's right. I can take it off.
No.
Too chilly.
I know it's colder today. It's so windy.
Kelly, I think when all our judges are here, there will be 4 instead of 5. So we'll just do the cumulative score without removing high and low.
Okay. And I don't have a printer, Sid, so I'm just using a blank piece of paper for now.
You know what to do.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. There's Danielle. Danielle, you're muted right now, which is just fine, just so you know. So that's the other thing as we get going here. We're going to ask that each of you stay muted if you can, just to keep possibility of background noise down.
Sure.
All right, so we're at the top of the hour, and here we go. Let's do this. One sec.
A little piano solo there, Meg.
So Danielle, just so you know,
Get your Steinway out.
it looks like you shared your link, which is why she's showing up as you. And that's a panelist link. She needs to go out and re-log in as herself by going to the main one. So,
I'll call her and tell her.
okay. One, two, we have 3 judges. We have 1, 2, 3 poets. All right, that's enough to start.
We reached critical
mass.
Poetry
So
Slam match.
we're gonna go ahead and kick this off. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome everybody. We're gonna get started here in just a moment. We'll allow a few more people to arrive. Great. Kelly, will you watch the chat for as we go through like you did last time?
Watch the chat for messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I missed something, you were very helpful on that front last time.
Got it.
So I just saw a message from Nicholas. So those of you out in the audience, how this works is that if you're a judge or a poet or part of the group who's performing today, you're up on screen. And then there's a lot of folks who won't show up on screen, who are the audience members, and you can interact with us in the chat. So if you're logging on and you're wondering why you're not showing up here on the screen and you bought a ticket as an attendee, you're actually not going to show up here on the screen.
So excited to get this started. This is our second virtual poetry slam. And we have a wonderful lineup of poets. I'm going to share their original poetry with you. In addition to that, we have our featured poet, Max Stossel, who I'm very, very excited to introduce here in a little bit. I guess I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Sid Zagri, and my co-creator, Meg West, aka DJ Aquifercious, is here as well. And I want to share with you that Virtual Poetry Slam is really the creation of myself and Meg. We view this as a heartfelt artistic response to what's going on with coronavirus and the folks who are dealing with the disease, and really so many of us that are now in this sort of isolation and are feeling that it's important for us to have creative outlets. And spoken word poets and spoken word poetry are important. That give us a voice. They give us a place to where we can speak what's going on here. So, Meg, I know you've got some thoughts on this. Why don't you share what you're thinking?
Yeah, so something beautiful that I've noticed is happening right now is the shift from this use of the internet as the worldwide mind, which is the way we've been using it for a long time, to the worldwide heart, because we're all reaching out using this technology. And poetry is just such a beautiful way to illuminate, empathy and share our hearts. So I'm really excited about people all over the world right now using the World Wide Web as the worldwide heart. And I think that's part of what we're part of here.
Awesome. Thank you, Meg. That's awesome. I read on the World Health Organization's website, the president there talking about a number of different updates yesterday. And so I find that he's a wonderful man. And I've read his updates on a few occasions now. And one of the things he talked about is that he was heeding the call from the president of the United Nations and UNICEF and another organization for a global ceasefire during this time. And that was really inspiring to me. Peace, really getting to a point as humanity where we're no longer feel it's necessary to hurt each other or kill each other over our differences is a dream that is important to me, and I think to many of us. And it seems to me that most of the time when these kinds of messages come out, it's sort of viewed as rhetoric, and of course you're going to say that, but would it ever happen? I mean, when I say it, that's what people say to me. And when I saw that, I felt like, wow, maybe there's a real opportunity here. So on that hopeful note, I want to share a little bit about Virtual Poetry Slam. I can see that many of you have answered the poll. If you haven't, please go ahead. We've got a few more of you that just pick up. You'll see you can answer yes or no to this question. Have you ever been to a poetry slam before? And panelists, you can also vote on this. And the majority of you have. But for those of you who haven't, I want to share with you that Poetry Slam is an art form that was developed in Chicago in 1984 in a jazz club in a working class neighborhood by Mark Smith.
Green Mill.
And Mark had a feeling that poetry readings and poetry in general had lost their passion, right? They'd lost certainly didn't have a lot of grit, or maybe had lost it. and had an idea to bring poetry back to the people. And so this is an exciting place for poetry to come to life, whether it's in a live venue as it usually is. This is not an event that typically makes itself into a virtual environment, but has as a result of our response to what's going on here. So it's a competition. Each poet has 3 minutes to perform their poem, and if they go over the time limit, our scorekeeper will deduct 1 point from their cumulative score. The scores are made in sort of 0 to 10 using Olympic scoring. Judges, if you don't have one already, please get your pad and your pen so that you can be able to write down your score and then show it when the time comes, and then we will we'll go from there. So great.
Sid, will you talk about the different views in the webinar?
Oh yeah, you can, thanks Meg. You can, up in the upper, I think, right-hand corner for our audience, so you can go from speaker view to gallery view. Gallery view is where you see all of the panelists, myself, and the rest of the panelists, who I'm going to introduce in just a moment. And it's a great way to kind of get a feeling for the community. So in the panelist community, we have our scorekeeper. It's Kelly Ireland. Hey, Kelly. So Kelly's been with us since the beginning of Poetry Slam Santa Barbara, the live event that we do here, and has been a wonderful performer as one of our featured musical performers, as well as being our scorekeeper and a dear, dear friend. And then I wanted to take just a moment and say thank you and introduce DJ Aquifercious, who's our DJ for this evening.
Hi again, everybody. Thanks for being here.
And then I want to kind of make the rounds here. We're going to, with our judges, starting with Alan Macy, who was one of the co-creators of Poetry Slam Santa Barbara. Tell us a little, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself in a sentence or two.
Yeah, howdy. All right. Good afternoon. It's, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the circumstances this evening. All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Mike.
Hey. Hey, this is Mike Rafus. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. I am originally from Detroit. I had a coffee house there for a number of years. That was the home venue for what turned out to be the Michigan Poetry Slam team that was co-champs in 2002. It was an amazing time for everything, considering the world events at that time. And we really, I feel like that coffee house and that team and all those poets and everybody, they were responding to just unbelievably unfathomable events in real time. And I'm happy to be back at another unfathomably strange time when poetry can actually do something to connect us when we've never been kept farther apart. So happy to be here. And I'm the Russian judge. I give the lowest scores in the early rounds. So look for that.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. And I appreciate your comments. I really do. This is an important time for us to connect in a time where connection is not really possible, at least not physically or minimally in that way. Jen, let's hear from you.
Hi there, I'm Jen Lackey, and I am saying hello to you all from rainy Portland, Oregon. I am a content strategist. I know Meg from school. We went to college together, and I am a judge who was published in my school anthologies. So there you go. Those are my qualifications.
Awesome.
More than me.
How about Gloria?
I didn't mean to, but I twinned myself to the Russian judge today. This was my look today. I didn't try to look like my Rafus tonight, but I showed up like that anyway. And I'm proud.
It's fun and functional.
It's 57 degrees in the Mission in San Francisco. It's a beautiful spring day. I'm here, I'm a children's librarian, and I wanted to build on to what Sid was saying. So people have been scrambling in this very strange time. I work with actually a very young staff, and I have 10 teachers that just hopped online right away, and we deployed all these devices to these children who are being trapped, and I did live read alouds with them, and they have a lot of tech coming at them. You know, our society has a ton. Every author out there is offering free services. People are putting free stuff online. Fantastic Fungi was online for free with an amazing Zoom Q&A afterwards. There's a lot coming at us, and I feel like it's important to remember to interact live, even if it's two-dimensionally, with our communities. Yes, it was very heartening.
That's great.
And that's James. He's here too. Sometimes he pops in and out.
Hi, James. We're glad to see you again this week. All right. I think that was all the judges, right, Meg? Okay, good. So let's go ahead and get started. So as we're getting going here, there's a tradition and a function that we have, which is where we have a sacrificial poet. And the purpose of this is to help you judges to be able to calibrate your scores without it having to go to the first person. So Kelly, tonight, our sacrificial poet is going to be Meg. And I'm excited about her poem. And then we are going to move to, let's see, let's start off with Isa. And then we will have Karen. I think that looks like it for now. So we'll see if we get another poet in. We'll add them.
Danielle is also here.
Oh, there's Danielle. That's right. We have Danielle. So that's right. So that's the direction we'll go. Thank you. Takes a team. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with our sacrificial poet from our DJ.
Hey everybody, so this is a poem that Jen, one of our judges, sent to me today. I wrote it in 1993 when I was 19 years old. It's a sonnet, and it's called "My Love is a Gaping Wound." Some say love is a gentle flower, or as brilliant as the moon. But we know love has too much power, for our love is a gaping wound. Wet is this wound with passionate embrace, pulsing red twixt the heart. Cross country even, its blood we taste, its taste gone from sweet to tart. Even the best of friends can be liars, pouring salt in the wound at the core, satiating carnal desire, lying in sin, a schmuck and a whore. Not all is flowers in love, you see, though the storybooks will tell you so. Love's more like a festering wound with gangrene, rotting off your largest toe.
Awesome. We'll see our mapping. And feel free to unmute that. Great. And judges score. Okay, so we've got a 8.5 and a 7.1 and a 7.7 and a 4.
We know where the 4 came from.
She is the Russian judge.
That's right. Great. Okay, Kelly, who's up next?
Gangrene.
Lisa's up. I do have a question. You have somebody that said that they did sign up to be a poet prior to 6 p.m.
I want them to. I mean, the challenge is that the webinar format doesn't really allow for it.
Got it. Okay, good to know.
Who was it?
Yvonne.
Yvonne. Okay. Tell Yvonne that she check her email. I believe that she did sign up in advance, and that that she did receive another invite. She just came in on the audience member one. So yeah, check it out.
Okay, got it.
I have received 2 invites, and one will log her in as an audience member, and the other one is a panelist. So maybe she can take that one.
So let's move to Isa.
Hi, everyone. One of my housemates is blasting music. I don't know if you can hear it, but
We're good.
I live with 6 other people, so quarantine hasn't really been like a thing. Or I guess it's just like a lot of people quarantined in one space. So this is a poem I wrote a couple days ago for a love of mine who actually lives in Portland, who was supposed to fly here and then had to cancel his flight. And it's a bit heartbreaking to be away from the person I love. And so I got a bit emotional and wrote this love poem to him. It's called Holy Water. I love the timbre to which our romance dances. I was caught in the amber, our first glances transcast. This isn't by chance. If my love had a Mecca, you would be my homeland. You are holy water to this lonely nomad. My heart drinks from your love and I'm nourished as you encourage me not to give up, showing me this is also what you want. Meeting me and seeing me and believing we have beauty to share. Hearing Rumi in the air saying, I'll meet you there. So let's go anywhere. I'll sit here through the night with you, watch our candles shining bright with you, and remind you when your smile dims with a wild kiss that although it's childish, I think you may be magic. That whatever it is, you have it. And I won't let you forget it, not for a second. This love is endless. It leaves me breathless as I grow defenseless in your presence. I'm an open book. Flip through my pages. I may shudder as you look, but it's only because your gaze is heaven to me. Love is all the things it threatens to be. And I love the fear because it's worth it. Being brought to silent tears as a wordsmith tells me more than novels do. More than apostles who preach the word of God. They teach in words and talk, but have they kissed the lips of their lover and wondered if maybe it's all true? If maybe God resides in the love I have for you.
And there's a score. All right, we've got a 9.6, and we've got a 9.99, and we've got a 8.5, and we got a 7.9. Thank you, judges.
Thank you.
So Kelly, we've got Karen up next. All right. Here's some
So
Karen.
I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, joining you from colder climates, and
Cool.
a little bit of a different type of poetry, but I hope it'll be worth listening to anyway. called the addiction racket. I'm in the addiction racket. Got a problem, but I can't crack it. There's money for the government, but they'll back it. The apathy is so heavy, I can't hack it. They don't treat addiction, they support it. But I'd like to find a way to deport it because there's so many hands in the pie, you can't sort it. It doesn't matter that emotionally people can't afford it or that it's a runaway train going to hell and there's too many people aboard it. But as long as you're in the neighborhood and not mine, the statement alone should be assigned. What exactly are we saying is just fine, that a child loses its mother in the bottom of a bottle of wine, guy kills someone with a DUI, but he can't walk a straight line. They're selling crack on the corner, but whose child buys it? There's a tag on the toe in the morgue, and who ties it? Mother leaves drugs on the table, her daughter tries it. She's looking for an answer, but she's come to believe to hides it. She gets caught and stoned in school, but she denies it. School tries to put her on a contract, but she defies it. You wonder how high the limit of stress is, but I guess the sky is it. Because even on a sunny day, it turns dark because the addiction dyes it. You can't hear the pain of the withdrawal because the hurt cries it. You can't stop using because they're caught in a trap. The current response waits for them to make a choice, but that's really a gap. The people with addiction are addicted, so the notion of choice is a load of crap. But if you're trying to maintain the addiction, then it's a wrap. Present them with the system too hard to navigate and don't give them a map. Walk around with drug addicts are nice people emblazoned on your cap. Give them a how to stay sober app on their phone they can give a tap. You may as well also get them a seeing eye dog and sit in their lap. This is a how-to book on how not to treat addiction. While the government claims they're suffering from financial restriction, the income from legal addiction hits billions of dollars, so that story is a fiction. While they claim that they support the choices of addicted people, but that's a distorted depiction. But when they don't live among people trapped in their own dereliction, the treatment model for addiction is a contradiction. We wait for people to make a choice who can't make a choice and avoid the friction. Meanwhile, children in addicted families are left aching. This is part of the population the government policies are forsaking. Addicted parents don't know how to give because they're too busy taking. This is nothing but a generational trap and inadequate response keeps making. There's a number of agencies that say they care, but they're just faking. Everyone wants a piece of the pie, but just who's doing the baking? Meanwhile, the front lines of war zone, too many kids are packing. There's not enough treatment for addiction because the funding is lacking. Harm reduction is the only response the government's backing. There's a crease in the foundation, but the whole thing's cracking. The situation's got too big for any one group to be tackling. Yet this is the world where addiction counselors are grappling, trying to pull the addict from the ledge before somebody kills him, watching addiction tear through a family until it fills him. You see a kid acting cocky on the street until somebody spills him. He owed money to a dealer until somebody billed him. He didn't get the message till somebody killed him. Purple heroin keeps cutting the numbers down despite the flooding the streets with naloxone. Another emergency response after a kid is administered and someone calls 911 on their phone. The scene repeats day after day, but the number of fails remains unknown. The dealer gets more customers after a death, and that fact chills you to a bone. Sometimes when you work in the field, you begin to believe your sanity is on loan. Either that or you lose the ability to respond and your heart becomes a stone. Because one thing you know, the whole truth about addiction will never be known. The system's enabling addiction, so apathy will be the only seeds that are sown. And if this is the attitude towards addiction, then who set the tone?
Ready. Judges score. Got a 9.3. We got a 9.5. We got a 9.8. We got our first 10. Woohoo! Nicely done. I see that Eve has joined us. Awesome. Eve, if you can get your camera to work, that's fine. If not, we're glad to have you share your poetry after Danielle with just audio. So I just want to let you know that you've got a little bit of time here if you can get that camera to work. And if not, that's just fine. So with that, let's bring up Danielle.
Hey everyone, I'm still digesting Karen's epic poem. So this piece is called Eve's Song. I wrote it about 2 years ago after reading bits and pieces of this rather horrendous book called The Hammer of Witches, where this manifesto used a lot of biblical text to justify the killing of witches and healers and midwives. And this was processing my rage. And yeah, Eve's song. She said, I ate the apple of the lover's tree, each bite teaching me how to see. Please come down and be with me in the opportunity of this glory. I know your fathers speak of treachery, of the poison that drips off this tainted tongue. Dare I be sung by a borrowed rib of winds that breathe through reason's grip. And yet, here I lie at the feet of this venomous tree, fearing no bounds of war's beholden we. Whispers of Eden's memory, breaking the backs of children to come, forgotten secrets and a garden's crumbs. She said, I ate that apple of the lover's tree, each bite teaching me how to see. Now please come on down and be with me in the glory of this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Score. Got a 9.7. We got a 8.5. We got a 9.89 and a 9.6. Thank you, judges. And I see we've, from one of our audience members, Sylvia, she's snapping out there too. So we got that happening. Excellent. All right. So now let's move to Eve. Eve, can you unmute?
Sorry, I can't get my video to work.
Well, we're so glad you're here and that you made it on. So please share. We're excited to hear from you.
Oh, thank you so much. This is called After Dark. You are so stubborn, so closed off. So the day you let me in, when you allowed me in, honestly, I was surprised to just walk into your heart, past your mind and through your soul. There mine stayed, locked, frozen. I could stay in that moment forever. Somehow I knew you. You were already mine, strategically prepared just for me. It was the strongest form of energy. Only sharing you with our higher power, we were one. This was my first time, but I was never unsure, never afraid. I think it was because our souls had met before. I knew your hurt and that others hadn't bothered to search, but I was patient. You had let me in so deep to a place I knew no one had been, and I was honored. I was ready. It was I who was prepared for you. I had touched the depths of your sunken place, somewhere beyond what I could imagine. No one should have lived the unimagined. Is this what you carry in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, all alone? You are so strong, but you deserve to not be so strong. I'm here now, and you've waited. I've been sent, and yet you still don't see. I'm asking you to choose freedom. If not for you, then do it for me. Use me. Use me as your resting place. Your burden is no burden when it is ours. Do you not know I would proudly pick up my crown and hold it down in your place? I've learned that when you are blessed enough, when you have been blessed to lock your soul with another, spiritually, you are forever tied. So my vow to you, as long as you allow me in, I promise that each day your darkness will seem a bit dimmer, your mornings a bit brighter. And one day I know that if you allow love to walk in past your soul, through your mind and in your heart, you will always see the love I see in you. Thank you.
Thank you. Judges score. Okay, we've got a 9.3, a 6.2, a 7, and a 7. Thank you, judges. All right, well, that concludes our first round. And so, folks, thank each of you so much. And Kelly's busily calculating scores. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our featured poet this evening. Max Stossel, I met because somehow he found our little poetry slam in Santa Barbara on Facebook, and he has a friend who's actually going to be on here next week by the name of Alice Frank. And Alice Frank was doing a book tour on the West Coast, and he said, hey, you really ought to have her come to your slam. I didn't know who she was. I'd never met her before. And he introduced me to an amazing human being and a wonderful poet, and now I get to know Max better. So stoked about that. Max, why don't you go ahead and unmute? We'll have a little chat here, and then have you launch right on in.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're so welcome. We're just thrilled that you're here with us. You know, Max, as I was kind of reviewing some of the material about you and what you're up to in your world, that, you know, some of the things that people are saying, or that your poems are emissaries of unshakable truths. I mean, that's a beautiful thing to say, and a more amazing thing to embody. Insights into human nature that we are often too fearful or inattentive to name. I found that particularly true as I listened to and watched the video that you produced. Is it called Subway Love?
It is, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, and enjoyed your various different pursuits. Now I know that right now, I guess it's on pause at the moment because of the virus, but you have been performing a one-man show called Words That Move, and you've been doing some touring in theaters in New York. Maybe you could share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a collection of these poems. It'll be somewhat similar to what you're seeing today. No overlap in those poems, but it's something that came straight out of my heart. And I've been performing at different sort of events and conferences and things like that, and slams, of course, for a couple of years now. But this was the first time that I was able to create my own container and put on my own show. And it's just felt deeply fulfilling. And I think people have been leaving spiritually fed and lit up, and that's what it's about. And I hope to be doing more of it after this all dies down, because while I'm so grateful for technology allowing us to do this, I think there's just something about being there in the room that feels extra special. And I'm looking forward to taking that back on the road. But it's been a really wonderful experience. Selling out some shows in New York, did one in Los Angeles, one in San Francisco. And it's been a treat for me to be able to get up on stage and share these messages that matter so deeply to my own heart.
Well, thank you, Max. And I think echoing your comments and the comments of Isa, I think many of us will never take for granted again the opportunity to meet face to face with whether it's an artistic experience or with a beloved or a friend, or even just the ability to make a new friend and shake their hand or give them a hug. So
yeah, I hope this gives us a newfound gratitude for that. And it was amazing. I was so moved by what you said earlier about there being a global ceasefire. That's a truly special consequence of this. Wow, yeah. What weird times indeed, Gloria.
So with that, it's all yours, my friend.
So yeah, something I've been thinking a lot about, and I actually saw on doing the scrollings the other day, was someone's reaction to this was, Mother Nature has sent us to our rooms. And I really liked that phrasing. And actually, Sid, is my audio okay? Just people can hear me, thumbs up, people can, great. And yeah, I love that Mother Nature has sent us to our rooms. And there was more, I have no idea if it's true, something about less biodiversity, being higher probability of viruses. I don't know if that is or isn't the case, but I was doing some scrolling the other day, and I saw in my newsfeed that a Leonardo da Vinci painting sold for $480 million. And I was like, okay, it's pretty cool, people paying a bunch of money for art. And then right below that, I saw that there's a thing of plastic the size of Greenland in the ocean. And the juxtaposition of those two things together really got me thinking, why don't we treat nature the way we treat art? And it can't be a matter of beauty, because there nature has us beat. Is it a matter of heart? The time and effort put into creation. But then again, once again, nature's got a billion-year head start on art. I guess you could say it took all that time to create the artist too. It's true. But nature has been working on this same piece for centuries, millions of centuries. How much more heart do we need to go into this masterpiece before it's deemed a masterpiece? And could somebody please tell me how any human work could possibly come even close to compete with the unique, pristine beauty of nature's artistry? Nature's art is trees, leaves, ocean, skies, and the space between. There's honestly nothing more breathtaking. But here's the divine artist cherry. She made it to be breath-giving too. Okay, humanity, our move. What have we got that compares to a sunset or a rising moon? And I guess the human artist leverages these tools to create meaning amidst nature's random meaninglessness. But to this, I'd say, bitch, please. Trees use their leaves to show us how beautiful change can be. Our move, humanity. The sun, she gives this endless performance. Every day she rises and sets to show us amidst life's turbulence, no matter just how rough it gets, still, time goes on. The world turns on, and we're not the center of it. The more we understand of stars, the more we learn how small we are. Tell me, what greater piece of art could show us that we're all a part of something so much more magnificent than makes any logical sense? These astrological sculptures of perfection that are somehow stardustically connected to our biological sculptures of perfection. Mother Nature, she is overflowing with meaning. Her clouds bring out the creativity in everybody. Let each eye see what it wants to see. Let our minds sculpt reality, while occasionally demonstrating as raindrops fall to reach our cheeks that tears are a necessity to growing healthily. What more could we ask of artistry? Her wind shows us gracefully there's more to life than what we see. and that our physical beings can be moved so powerfully by this invisibility. The wind has been in love, it seems. Love, just one of many emotions nature gave to us. We artists just retell the stories nature placed in us, but we've come to value breaking off a piece of the masterpiece to turn the artistry into a different shade of green. Maybe Mona Lisa's arms could help power my car. How much could I make for each of Mona's water lilies individually? Or if I tear these Banksies to 1,000 pieces of white sheets and sold each separately? Let me just cut off the head of the statue of David and frame it in a hunting lodge wall like a trophy. And the oceans, they've been through enough. Let's just dump all our plastic on top of Kanye. I'd like to pause the poem for a moment. Just imagine a dump truck full of plastic chasing Kanye around and him being like, "What are you doing? I'm the greatest artist that has ever lived. This is ridiculous." And the driver being like, "Kanye, are you more beautiful than an ocean? It's either you or the ocean." And I think actually that's how Kanye's brain works. And I think he'd be down with this whole experiment. He'd be like, "Okay, let's do it, Jesus." We'd never treat art this way. Yet here we are today, thoughtlessly squandering divinity, quite literally trying to pay for Da Vinci's with dead trees. And I don't mean to shit on all of it. I get it. This is America. We're capitalists. But could we perhaps correct some of the market failures that exist if we decided to cherish the only gallery that's ever lived? Maybe it's time to value planet Earth as the clearly priceless work it is and it has always been. I think there's so many lessons that we can learn from nature. And as I look at times like now, I think one of the most important ones is patience. And nature is beautiful, the most beautiful art I'd say that we have. And it took a long time. It takes a long time to get to how it is. And we are nature. We like to think of ourselves as distinct from it, but we're not. We are nature. And while in our own lives, we kind of want things to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, nothing in nature really is. It's all cyclical and it all moves through these different phases. And one of the, and also like, especially in a time like now, one thing I think is funny in gatherings like this is that when I ask in audiences how many of us are like weighing with something on our shoulders that just feels impossible to carry, just about everybody is like, yeah, kind of, that's me, but we don't really talk about it. And I think when we're observing nature, when we stop and smell the flowers, we don't think about the seed. We take in the beauty of such fragrant blossoming. We marvel at all that nature can be, but we don't think about the seed that had no idea what it would become, that comes from the one above who begun this journey out into the sun before it's overcome with darkness, or for some scattered through wind, water, or fire. That's right, some seeds actually require fire to open. Over time, evolution learned that sometimes fires happen, so it embraced them, made them a part of creation. So the seed feels it's burning from the inside. It doesn't know what to do. It's lost, alone, and confused, and overcome with pain that shoots straight through its entire core. It must wonder what any of this is for, buried deep beneath this floor. Hey, why'd you bury me here, Lord? It smells like death. It feels like worms. Oh, at least I have this shell, it murmurs. Without it, I could not endure. And then that cracks open too. And suddenly it morphs to this completely foreign form, which of course only scares it more. And in this crisis, it bursts from the soil it's come to know as this abusive home. And then it sees that light that once had shone before the darkness had begun. And as the skies cry down upon the mangled body that has grown, it does the only thing it can. It grows. It rises towards the sun. We want to be the flower, but we don't think about the seed. We don't think about how much we need to battle through the gift of all this pain that we receive to blossom into everything we're meant to be. The greatest beauty is given to us slowly. Flowers don't appear magically, except they do. They appear magically and slowly too. And so do you. If you have the patience to bloom, the strength and patience to battle through the challenges in front of you, divinely designed to push you, test you right to the edge of what you can do. You're supposed to wonder how much longer you have to blindly sit and stew inside this darkness that surrounds you. Life will overwhelm you because the greatest beauty isn't pretty to make. The greatest beauty takes time and patience and struggle and mess to create. And it's impossible for the seed to see the beauty in its destiny. But we are blossoming. The struggle is the seedling that's becoming something more. Sometimes it just takes time to realize what it's all been for. I think that's what we're going through right now. We're doing some serious blossoming in this moment as a collective humanity, and battling through what I think is hard, but what an opportunity for revolution, to rebuild some of the systems and structures that haven't been working, even though, of course, it's awful that that there's bloodshed in the time. But a part of me really believes, like, wow, could you design a more effective way of potentially rethinking giant global structures without, like, with this little amount of casualty? Like, how it's almost impossible to do that. This may be an opportunity for that in this moment, and I hope so. And I've started to have a lot more faith over the past couple of years. I grew up Jew-like-ish on the Upper West Side, which really means, like, you don't believe in anything, and I don't know, I have to go to Hebrew school or go to synagogue on Fridays, but I have no real affiliation or understanding with churches or synagogues. But I have really come to affirmatively believe in God, that this thing that looks through my eyes and your eyes is the same thing, this consciousness that we're all held in. And when I think about that, and I think about having the faith that we're blossoming in this life or in the next, and if I was thinking about, like, what would it really look like? Like, how would I know? What would it feel like? How could I see if there was some more intelligent thing that was guiding my way, that was guiding our way? And this is something that I was thinking about as I was headed out the door on the way to the airport, and I don't remember where I was going or what for, but at the time it felt important. And that's when a bird flew in my living room window, perched on a bookshelf, cocked his head to the side so his eye could meet mine. At first, this venue was nothing new. Different temperature of air to move through, a cupboard full of free food, a life he could get used to. He flies to the other side of the room. The walls have him a bit confused. It's unclear to birds what good walls do. They seem silly. Like windows, windshields, and wind turbines. Silly like the borderlines we guard with our lives, pretending it's two different sides. Birds defy such false divides and fly carelessly right by. He stares at the wall a while, and then to my surprise, he speaks a line. Why would anyone build anything to discourage flying? Holy shit, a talking bird, I reply. But on second thought, birds talk all the time. I'm not surprised he can talk. I'm surprised his vocabulary matches mine. Would I be so surprised if he said, hello, or request a cracker? Well, I'd be surprised you used the word requested. And I find that perplexing. But I'd assume it didn't come from you. That it's not an original thought, that you're just repeating what you've been taught, that you're not talking. Just like you. You're talking just like me. Or I'm just repeating what I've been taught. I guess what are my original thoughts? But no, your talk is like my squawk, not actually communicating. I'm just repeating the sounds I hear you making. Why would anyone build anything to discourage flying? It's a good question. I mean, quite literally, we need such things to protect our warmth and property, windows and windshields, our human ingenuity, magic, practically, but metaphorically, I agree. Why would anyone build anything to discourage flying? I take a step towards him. He shoots towards the window, slaps against it, and falls to the floor, now more nervous than before. Just like you. What, has this bird been armed with lines to existentially torture whoever he finds? What do you mean, just like you? I don't smash into walls I can't break through. That's not something that I do. I don't even try to break mine down. I leave my walls untested out of fear. I'll do what you do, look like a fool smacking into a window. Fly outside, bird. But he flies to the third side of the room. Knows better than to fly back into the same window he just made a fool of himself knocking into. Reminds me that after I fail, I become afraid to step back into the ring too. It's okay, bird, you can try again. The window's open. This time will be different. I let anyone build anything to discourage flying. I try to scare him in the right direction, making myself big and invasive in all of the spaces he couldn't escape with. I wonder if he were really communicating what he'd say, or if he could understand that I'm being a menace because it's the best way to get him where he needs to be, to set him free, that there's something wiser and more knowing than he working mysteriously to give him everything he's asking, that this monster that I seem to be is actually helping. Bird, can't you see there's a plan working in your greater favor? This whole world that you don't understand, these giant entities, we build these, it's because of me. The bird seed hanging magically in those trees, it's because of me. Won't you please just trust me? Oh, it's so frustrating, but I get it. It's a bird. It's afraid for his life. And in the moment, fear never feels like a guide. He finally flusteredly flies outside and he shrieks to the skies, just like you. Fades off into a distance and a plane goes by. Oh, bird made me miss my flight. I feel mixed about sharing that one on stage because so much of what I do here is about sharing truth, and technically that didn't happen. But when I thought to myself, well, when did I write that? Where did it actually come from? It was when I was flying through the air on a plane like a bird. Count it. I figure that's a wink and good enough to share. But as we start to become gods in a way, recognizing the divinity in us and designing worlds, these technological worlds, these rooms like Zoom that we live in, I think it's so important that we listen to that higher voice, that the part of us that is beyond us and is bigger than us. Because in some ways, I think we are birds and ants building virtual reality systems and technology rooms. And I'd love us to acknowledge more of the invisible, of the things that make humanity so flourish and make it worth living. And I actually used to design some technology stuff. I say to audiences if you ever look down at your phone or computer and then immediately gotten distracted and forgotten why, that was my job. I was trying to take you out of your world and bring you into mine, because investors told us that if we could hold your attention for 2 minutes or longer, we had a valuable company. And so there are so many things we're trying to do to grab and hold attention. And technology can obviously be this beautiful tool that as we move towards the future, towards environments like virtual reality, things where you're putting on these headsets and able to look around inside of technology, I really think we have this incredible opportunity to enhance the world that Mother has given us. We're seeing things like people overcoming phobias, regain motion of their limbs. It's amazing. But if the goal is attention, if the goal is how do I hold you in this experience for as long as possible, I'm worried about where we'll go. And I hope we have this moment to really look at what role do we want technology to play in our lives? How does this fall short from the human experience? And I was at Disney World as an adult, which is actually not an experience that I recommend. And I'm going to share one more poem with you about that, because I had this VR headset on for this exhibit. And for those of you who don't know VR, you can look around inside of these Disney movies that I loved as a kid, and you've got these headphones on, so I'm totally audio immersed, I'm totally video immersed. And then all of a sudden I dove into The Little Mermaid and they dropped water from the ceiling. And I felt like I saw the future at Disney World, and it wasn't real. Or not real like I know real, not real like we've defined real. But I dove into the virtual sea and I felt the water splash across my face. I heard the ocean in my ears. I saw a mermaid singing right in front of me, and I could touch, well, right through her. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? And I can't be the only one to see the irony that she wants to be. Where the people are, she wants to see them dancing. But as a representative sample is supposed to be dancers, We're fine, thank you. Content here in our minds, thank you. Let's turn reality to channel 259, thank you. Walking around on those. What are they called again? Who remembers? We never use them anymore. Scene changed behind Aladdin and Jasmine on their magic carpet ride. And as I marvel at this new fantastic point of view, I realize love could live here too. I could build a whole new world with you, adventure with you, fly through skies of green and trees of blue. This shining, shimmering, splendid gift is now available for just $19.99 on Squarespace beats Oculus Rift. Scene change to the African plains to where Simba and Nala are playfully playing. So close that I'm literally part of their game, but I can't quite feel the wrestling. Not yet. But give it time, we're still developing. We'll make simulation much more like the real thing. You'll have complete control over everything because we just can't wait to be king. We just can't wait to rule over the worlds we create rather than participate in the one we share. And we'll be able to build our own world soon. Let's have tea in Morocco this afternoon. And this evening, I'll build you a palace on the moon and we'll sip soup on silver spoons. And for dessert, we'll have gravity removed. We'll float through the cosmos with oxygen tubes. I've rejiggered the physics on Mars and Neptune to make them more suitable for you. Our minds' worlds, they have different rules. No longer bound by atmosphere, nature's limitations wiped clear. You can just turn people on and off in here. So by reality channel 8,365, my world's only touched by those I decide. I'm completely immersed in the confines of my own mind, opposing ideas left swiped aside. But maybe eventually we'll come to find that we needed each other this whole damn time. Maybe this world we're the tiniest piece of as a system of balance we would never dream of, pushing us somewhere we won't consciously scheme up. Maybe we shouldn't have so much power. Maybe going forwards is backwards. Maybe we should go lie in the grass and make love without glasses, even if it hardly stimulates orgasm classic. I want to be where the people are, up where they walk, up where they run, sing it if you know it, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world. Thank you guys all very much for joining me in this digital room here tonight.
You!
Yeah. Oh, wow. That was awesome. You're amazing, dude.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. It's been really fun.
Really
Excited to see the second round.
Yeah. Let's get right to it. To our audience members, we'll be having some video of this to share with you, and really just want to get the word out about this slam as we go through this together. It's so important that this venue be something that people are aware of as audience members, as poets. It's an extraordinary opportunity for sharing, as you just witnessed. Again, thank you, Max. So let's see here. We have our three finalists, and Kelly, you just put it up there. Okay, so first up we're going to have Danielle, then Karen, then Isa. So these are our three finalists in that order. And the poets can actually perform the same poem again or a new one. It's up to you. Judges, you're back in the game. So with that, let's go ahead and start with Danielle.
All right. So I'm currently in grad school and training as a psychotherapist, and we've kind of been on overload these last 2 weeks with everything going on. And today, in between client sessions, I took the 10 minutes to write these words down. So I've never read it out loud. Here we go. No more business as usual. The winds have picked up and they are howling. Grandmother's tears watering the lands of our one soul. I've been hearing my brothers and sisters whispering a curious word apocalypse. Well, the archaeologist within wanted to know where this curious word's roots lie. And it turns out its roots means to uncover, reveal, uncover. What is being uncovered? Who is being uncovered? And this archaeologist within is good friends with the weaver within, who knows that shame's roots lie in the word meaning to cover. I suppose we might imagine that the dharma of shame is to cover. Well now, grandmother wind, are you here to reveal the misguided soot upon our skin that has been covered, that which has been yearning to be, like coal crushing our being into the diamond we forgot we were? When I look around, the scales have been naively and painfully tipped against nature, capital N, nature. Hats tipped to corruption. Dare I ask, grandmother, are you intervening? She's listening. I think she's here. My dear children, mother is at home and mother knows best. So I tell you to ask yourselves, Ma, what can I do to help? Thank you.
We got an 8.1. We got a 9.0. We got a 9.7 and a 9.8. Thank you, judges. Nicely done. All right, and up next, we have Karen.
So I wrote this actually for, I'm an addiction counselor, and you'll see that eventually. And so I wrote this for a gentleman that is on the edge, and I'm trying to pull him back. It's called An African Son. A family came to Canada hoping for a better life. They came across the ocean to escape the gun and knife. Out of the turmoil of the Congo, a mother took her children across the sea. A father too involved in politics made the Congo too unsafe for them to be. She settled in the West in a country free of political violence, never knowing what lay beneath the quiet of the silence. They say it's a land of plenty, one of the safest places you could live, and she wanted the safety for her children this country had to give. Her children thrived in this new place. 3 younger children were born here, far from the armed rebellion that only ever formed fear. So she couldn't see it coming, and it's the last thing that she expected. The violence in her community was far too silenced to be detected. Her 16-year-old son had the courage to report a crime, but the ones he pointed the finger at didn't want to do the time. So late one night, they came to the house and set fire in the night. And by the time he woke to the fumes, there was no way to win the fight. He couldn't even help his girlfriend as the flames raged all around. He was forced to jump out the window. His burnt body hit the ground. Suffering injuries from the spall and severe burns from the raging flames. When they asked who was still in the house, he slowly gave his family's names. His mom, 3 younger children, and his girlfriend perished in the fire. His mental and physical injuries were really very dire. An older brother and sister would have to contend with all the grief, a single act that would devastate them all beyond belief. In one cowardly act of violence, these people had destroyed a family's hope, left behind 3 young people with a pain too difficult to cope. How can one reconcile this level of loss and the death of a family's innocence? How can wiping out an entire family ever manage to make any sense? The boy with the burns would never fully recover. The experience would break his mind. His brother would set off across the country, and addiction was all he'd find. And that's the young man I met, sitting in a jail cell for a drug-related crime. Joe wouldn't make any difference because he'd always been doing time. Since the day he lost his mother, 19 years old, when his connection burned away. He tried to numb the pain with deadly drugs the day he turned away. But nothing could silence his pain. Drugs would only numb it for a while. The justice system couldn't hurt him because his life had become a trial. A broken family, all that was left of everything he'd ever known. The pain of loss so deep that it chilled him to the bone. The addiction flowing through his veins, undoubt with grief, the poison in his brain. Everything his family hoped for, it all turned out in vain. How could he build a better life from the ashes of his grief? How could he live without the drugs, without any measure of relief? But something needed to rise from the horror of that night. Someone had to survive, someone had to stand up in the light. And there he stands, an African son, all that's left of a family's dreams, shackled by the chains of addiction and his life other than it seems. The only symbol of his family's tenacity, could he rise like a phoenix from the flames? Could he live the life they couldn't live? Could he throw away his shame? Could he carry all their dreams forward, the family who didn't get a chance? Could he become the man he was meant to be and escape addiction's dance? He stood there on the threshold between life destroyed and his future, unable to nurture the hole in his heart, too big for him to search her. The young man disconnected, without a family, could he find a way to replace it? He'd have to recover from his addiction. Could he find a way to face it? Recovery was the way out, a chance to rebuild what he had lost. Enough of his family paid the price. His loss would make it far too large a cost. And when I looked into his eyes, I could see his people's trace in the generations of DNA that flowed on through his veins, even in the stressful lines where it carried all their pains, all the genes from all the lines that flowed down to this man, trying to grapple with all the pain of what he couldn't understand. And yet there he had within him a history of his people, those that fought to survive and never offered an apology too feeble. All they had to draw on was already there inside him, and all it contained in his lineage. He had contained all the necessary ingredients to embark upon a pilgrimage. The journey into himself was the journey he needed to make. Out from under his long drug sleep, he needed to awake. He needed to stand upon a mountain and declare himself to be. Realize he could touch everything and that he could choose to see. Realize he carried within him the seeds of his family's survival. And it was time to throw away the addiction and embrace a new revival. Thanks.
Got a 9.3. Got a 9.8. We got a 9.5 and an 8.8. Thank you, judges. Awesome. All right, let's move over to Isa.
That was super powerful. Thank you. Wow. Okay. This poem is called Open Door, and I think it's very fitting right now because all of us are being confronted with ourselves. We have to sit with ourselves a lot more than usual. And so when you're stuck inside of your home and you're by yourself and you have to reflect, I like to think of my being as another home. It's my inner home. And matching how I'm putting it all together and arranging my outer home and my inner home and letting those things align. Okay, open door. There is no defense in your existence. Being you is your right. Stay persistent. Trying is hard, but denying makes scars on your heart that your mind remembers. All the times you let sparks become embers, trying to hide in the dark forever. But your soul is clever. It knows you are a lover. Although you're running for cover, there's nowhere to go that your heart doesn't know. It's the blanket, the bed, and the pillow. Let the burden be taken, shed, and let go. Time is a friend, so treat it that way. Not letting the drama carry it away. You may feel stuck. Sipping from an empty cup, can't make your mind up, don't want to interrupt. Yes, it's a lesson in channeling the stress and handling the mess. But your life is beautiful, and perfection is futile and boring. I mean, honestly, out of all the things you could wish to be, perfect is the last thing on that list for me. You are everything and so much more. You are the house, the home, and the open door. I want to see what it looks like inside, where you sit. Show me around, MTV Cribs in this bitch. Be proud of your situation. Show me what you took so much time in arranging. What a magnificent space you have made. Different rooms shining while others may fade. It's okay if a chair or a cup's out of place. It shows you are human and live in this space. You are not for sale. It shouldn't be staged. Be brave. What colors have you painted your walls? What treasures have you gathered to fill these halls? Everything in here has meaning behind it. Tokens of a moment, so you are reminded that you've been here before. You've accomplished so much. So when you open your door, you say, please look, please touch. Nothing in here is too precious to handle. Not even the things you've placed on the mantle. When your whole world is a shrine and things are too fragile to hold, then nothing is divine and the house stops being a home. Life happens, things break, and they don't always fit back together. But hey, that's the stakes. Nothing lasts forever. I'll help you pick up the pieces and make something new. I'll help you iron out the creases and bring a gift for you. It's a part of me that I brought from my place to help fill up the space you feel is broken. I hope it's okay. Your door was open. Thank you.
Score. Got a 9.9. We got an 8.3. We got a 9.1. And we got an 8.3. Thank you, judges.
Thank you so much.
Well, Kelly is busy calculating. I'll share a poem and then we'll announce the winners. This is a poem that's called Love Is, and somehow seems appropriate in this moment. Sages say love is a many-splendored thing. I say love is. Love is a stream bubbling forth from springs that seem to start in quiet forest places, yet that is not the start, but a place where the stream becomes visible. The start may have come from rainfall, from rain clouds, from oceans, rivers, and lakes whose drops, when falling, caressed the leaves, the bark, the roots, then dirt and sand and rock, only to gather after nurturing along their way. As we move along our journey, love comes to us. It falls like rain from the sky, then to nurture us, that we may share with all the love that is so freely given. Love can come with ease and grace, yet many are so driven to be someone or something that will make them appear to rise above the masses, to be the one that in others' eyes is somehow better than, filling them with false power. Thus, we complicate, we denigrate until those huddled, hungry masses finally say, me too. We say me too because it hurts. We say me too because we love ourselves. We say me too because we love each other and those who did us harm, especially them. That our love may drench their heads, their limbs, their hearts, especially their hearts, their souls, to cool the flames of hurt and hate from origins unknown, that they may learn to love themselves. It's a time of reckoning. The quickening is upon us. Those of us who are called to cultivate love in self, love in other, must now shine our love every day with all that we may be, powerful beings, claiming our birthright as beacons of love, of light, as shepherds of love for all. Thank you. Great. Nice, our scores. Folks, thanks so much for joining us for this virtual poetry slam. I so appreciate each and every one of you, audience members, judges, poets, scorekeeper, DJ Aquifercious, every single one of you. I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in third place, we have Isa. Second place, we have Karen. And in first place, we have Danielle. Woohoo! All right. So maybe everybody unmute yourselves now. We can kind of unmute. Talk about it.
Everybody tens all around.
Yeah, that's right. We love the slam format, but we love the content that it brings and the energy that it brings to share in this one. So once again, thank you, Matt Stossel,
for hosting.
so much.
Thank you guys. It's so much fun.
All right. So next week is Alice Frank. Please invite your friends. Let the poets know. Time for them to shine and share their light.
Thank you all, poets. It was so good to hear everyone. Thank you.
Good. Take care, everybody.
Namaste.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
all.
everyone. Nice to meet you.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you,
Rage.
Max. That's amazing.
Thank you all.
You guys.
Be brave, be beautiful. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Getting off here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye. I'm the last. So awkward. The last one here.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.